Okay, so
They did it.
They did it. They did it.
They did it. They did it.
The Mets just came off of their 12 or 11 game losing streak. Winning.
You must be living in a different planet if they just came off of a 12-game losing streak.
Well, do you remember, I feel like it was 2015 when they were in the World Series. Remember they started the year off with 15 and winning in a row? Winning. It was 2015. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
How far we've come in a decade. You know what I mean?
Apparently they haven't had a 12-game losing streak since 2004. And apparently no team ever in baseball has made it to
the playoffs
after a streak like that. If there was a streak like that in their season. So
the memes have been absolutely amazing though.
What are some of your favorites?
Playoff bound, immediately, they won one and it's the best thing that ever happened to us.
And
but that's the best part about being the Mets, being a Mets fan. You just need the one win,
And then you gotta believe again, it's right there. I mean, what did you think of Luke Weaver's speech? Did you hear it?
Well, okay, so you explained this off mic that there was more to the speech. I only saw the clip where he's like, I'm not scared of no one. I was like, all right, settle down. But you kind of gave me more context, so why don't you share?
Yeah, well, Steve Gells always interviews sort of the person who closes the game, whether it's the hitter or the pitcher. Uh-huh. And so he interviewed Luke, and he was like, so how does it feel to finally end this hump or whatever? And he's like, it feels good. And, to anyone out there who is questioning how much we care and it's not we've always put in our effort and blah blah blah. He was sort of kind of defending the team and saying they weren't just a bunch of guys not caring. And then he's that's what he said. He's like, I may be small, but I'm not scared of nothing. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, settle down.
Do you ever feel with sports?
I kind of liked it though. He's kind of intense.
Do you ever feel in sports that because you're it's so intense that athletes need to have some kind of motivation enemy? I'm just thinking of other teams. I'm thinking back, I can't remember what year this was, but in the NFL the Seahawks beat the San Francisco what are the
49ers?
San Francisco 49ers to move into the Super Bowl. And I forgot who the guy was. I forgot his name. But he's like, yeah, Crabtree, he's like, come at me. And Crabtree was like, I didn't know that we were in a beef. They have this thing in their head where they have a beef with someone. Another guy might not even know they have the beef with them. And it's
they create entire narratives to give them some momentum.
There was just the one about the Knicks where the guy was like, Brunson was putting on a Broadway show when he kicked him in the balls.
He did kick him in the balls.
I know, but I'm saying that these people just sometimes just say things and it's what? Were we in the same reality?
You're right. I think you're right. I think they probably make narratives in their head to encourage themselves to push harder, and then the other person who's not doing that is just what? What just happened? Oh my god! But I'm glad they're winning. I mean, there's some question.
Winning, they won one
I'm
game.
glad they won one game.
I don't think you could say the ing at the end of that unless they win tonight too.
I'm glad they won one game.
Okay,
that was cool. My only thing is have you heard the rumors about Soto and Lindor and if they're what their dynamic?
No, they're not friends. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a weird vibe. So Soto, that was his first game back.
Yeah,
which ended the streak. But then in that exact game, after Lindor scored a run, he got injured.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Only time will tell. Hi, everyone. I'm Melanie.
And I'm Diana.
And we're two queens in a pod.
Cast. And we are two queens from Queens, giving you the Queens perspective. And today we're bringing you to the oldest home in Queens.
One of them.
One of the oldest homes in Queens, the Bowne House.
We've been trying to do this since we started this podcast.
Since the beginning, I'm telling you. When we first made a list of where to go, I would say it was in our top 10.
Yeah. For any of those OG followers, when we used to just go to Queens locations and ran through them pretty quickly, this was one of the Queens locations we never ended up doing.
We never ended up going. And, we still haven't tackled all of them, but and I would say the reason why is this place is open for 3 hours on Wednesday.
But then, you know what? I feel like the website is misleading because when we went there, which we'll talk about going to the Bowne House,
yes,
and our experience there, it was open daily. Like it just said like you have to call. Like there was like a note on the wall that was like hours, and it was like every day or something like that.
I guess that makes sense. I guess like Wednesdays is the day they're definitely open, but you could schedule tours whenever you want.
Yeah.
Okay, that checks out. They also have like Saturday, Sunday like workshops, which like Mel said, we'll get to it. But you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'm going to give a little brief description of the Bowne House. So the Bowne House, like we mentioned, is one of the oldest homes in New York City, not even just Queens. It was built in 1661. It was John Bowne's house. And what this house kind of represents is the Bowne family, I would say, because there's a lot of influential people who are from the Bowne family that continued on to do very historical things, right? Okay. Yeah. So the house was built in 1661. John Bowne, he was from England. He came to Boston in 1649. So this is even before the Revolution. And he settled down in Flushing, Queens, built this house. At that time, it was under Dutch rule. So as the years went on and the family grew, there was 2 expansions, one in 1669 and one in 1680. So its location now currently is in the same spot. I know we've talked about other places that they like pick up the house and move it places. This is like in the same exact spot that it's
never been moved.
Yeah, some of the beams, like it's obviously been renovated to like not fall apart.
Right, so it doesn't
but like
crumble.
some of the beams are still
the original
beams, yeah.
It's just so crazy. Like if there was a time lapse and you see what it probably looked like when it first was built, it was probably like all grassland farm, and then you see now it's like concrete. It's like
you're in like you're in the Flushing, like right in the middle of Flushing. Yeah, really, like it's literally the Flushing front. Yeah, it's 3701 Bowne Street,
like a block from Main Street, maybe.
Yeah. What's interesting about the house, before we kind of go into other things, is because it was run by. This was Dutch rule in the New Netherlands that was like New York City back then, and he was English. The building itself has 2 different techniques. It's Dutch techniques and also English techniques.
Okay.
So it's like two different kind of architectures. Which,
it's a little mixture.
A little different.
A little hybrid.
Colonial New York. And I would say the most famous thing about the house is that, let me get this actual time right. In 1662... John Bowne held a Quaker meeting in the house, and he was quickly arrested by Peter Stuyvesant, who was the Dutch director general of this place. And Peter Stuyvesant was very like anti every other religion. Like he did not like, unless he only liked like Dutch reform or whatever he was.
Yeah. Can we do like a little deep dive into the 2? Because I started researching each of them.
Wait, I did a bunch of like, because, okay. What I want to say is, my whole life, I didn't know what Quaker was. And I always thought it was like a mean person. Like, not a mean person, but I thought it was like a mean religion. And I found out that I was completely wrong. This religion, like, rocks. I think because, like, Quaker sounds so scary.
I thought you were going to say you thought it was like Quaker Oats.
No.
Thought it was a cereal.
No, I thought that they were, like, mean because they're, like, Quakers. Like, it sounds like a gang.
Like the Jets and the Sharks?
Yes.
Here we go again. No.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I think it's really interesting. I think it's important to paint the picture of these 2 individuals.
Yeah.
Because
I want to talk about you. I'll talk about the Quakers. You talk about the Dutch reformers.
Okay, that's cool.
Okay. So start us off. Peter Stuyvesant, one of these people.
Wait, can we talk about, I know you did talk about John Bowne a little bit, but, so you said he immigrated from did you say that he immigrated to Boston?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Were you not listening to anything I just said?
But then he married this chick. I feel like him marrying this chick is important. So he married this girl who was like kind of like well-to-do, so that kind of upped his status.
Oh, okay.
But before this, he was just like a regular dude.
Just a
regular dude.
Just a regular British dude.
Yeah, living in England, talking with a British accent, whatever, right? And so then him and his wife decide to convert to being Quakers once they get to the colonies. Right? And
did he meet his wife in England or he met his wife here?
He met his wife here.
Okay.
And when they converted England in the England colony, so just to paint the picture, New England still existed, like Massachusetts, all of that, but that was under British rule.
And then New York was
under Dutch rule, right? So they're in New England, and it was being actively repressed, Quakerism. It was just like, you can't do that here. And then, so they decided in 1661 that they relocated to Flushing because they heard that a small group of English-speaking Quakers were attempting to practice their faith in defiance of the Dutch governor. So, like, they did it on purpose. They, like, went purposefully knowing that Peter Stuyvesant was saying, like, you can't do Quakerism here either. Right. So he was kind of like, gotcha, bam, like, I'm going to fight this a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, he was kind of throwing himself into the fire a little bit, which I thought was cool. But have you heard about this Peter Stuyvesant guy?
I think he is...
He's an controversial character.
I was going to say, he's the old Robert Moses.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, because he did a lot of things. But not great things.
I literally wrote like pros and cons for him, right?
Okay, let's hear it.
So like my whole life I've heard Stuyvesant, and like, you know, you're like, oh, I wonder who that guy is, and then you don't look it up and you never learn about him because like you've heard of Stuyvesant High School. Like, did you apply to any of those specialized schools?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get into any of them. But...
That's wild. I've never gotten into those. But basically, this guy Peter Stuyvesant, he was credited for bringing New Amsterdam to like the level of prosperity it was at before it was surrendered to British rule. And so he established landmarks like Wall Street and the Bowery. He established a municipal government. He was also the last director.
Can you imagine doing all these things and then the English come and take it over? It's like when you're in like a school project and everyone, like you do all the work, but then like someone else takes the credit for it.
Yes.
It's like that, yeah.
That's kind of what happened. You like brought it up to a pretty high level.
He deserves it. He does not, you know.
Yes. I don't feel so bad.
That's what you get for being a bad person, okay?
Yeah, because now we're going to explain why he's a bad person. Mm-hmm. So, he was the last Dutch director because it gets given up. However, if you just thought, oh, this guy's great, he was completely religiously intolerant to like any religion that wasn't his own, and his own was Dutch Reformed Church, and he was also heavily involved in the Atlantic slave trade, and he was known as having probably the most enslaved people. Like, he owned the most enslaved people. God. Really bad stuff. Yeah. I can't believe we have blocks named after him. I don't know. I don't know what that's about.
Like a whole building unit.
Yeah. I don't know. So, also another random fact, this is neither a pro or a con, is that he was known as Old Peg Leg.
Ooh.
So did
he have a peg leg?
He did have a peg leg. He lost his leg in a Spanish cannonball while fighting in the Caribbean. But this guy...
Unimpressive, man. I ever saw one.
All right, I know. But this is a little cool what he did with his peg leg.
What did he do with his peg leg?
I'm telling you, hold on for this. Is pretty cool. Like, remember when we were kids and we bedazzled our phones? With the little gems?
I just went to a bedazzle class yesterday.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so he basically kind of maybe low-key invented that idea. He kind of bedazzled his peg leg with silver, like, nails. And he would just, like, make little things in there.
Alright, whatever.
So just imagine this dude.
Peg leg. Peg legging all over the place.
Yeah, he's wild. But I just thought it was interesting to kind of paint the picture of the villain, who's the one who arrested John Bowne, and then kind of gave John Bowne's story. Like, this regular dude is trying to just,
trying to religion.
And peace.
Yeah, trying to religion.
And peace. And then, bam, he arrests him. Yeah. And then that brings us to the kind of rest of the story, right? But what did you had?
No, so back to me thinking the Quakers were like scary people.
Yeah.
I thought that the Quakers did something with the Salem witch trials, but I think that was just the Puritans.
Yes.
And they're different people.
Definitely.
Okay, so the Quakers, if you ever want to know, are the members, and this was like from England. They began in England. They didn't even begin in America. Mm-hmm. So they're members of a Christian movement, formerly known as the Religious Society of Friends. And we learned about the Society of Friends during our little workshop, which we could talk about. But they began in England, and it's basically just like simplifying like Christianity, like how Catholics like pray to a priest. Like they say you shouldn't have a direct connection to God. So if you want to pray to God, you could just pray to God. Like you shouldn't have to
go through
somebody else. Yeah, you don't, like, they cut the middleman out.
All right, that's fair.
And like worship is often silent, with people speaking only when they feel spiritually moved. It's about like peace, equality. A lot of historically, many Quakers are very like active in different movements, like like prison reform, women's rights, things like that, like anti-slavery.
Do you have like how if there's a lot of them still now?
I'm not sure, but I know how the Quakers got their name.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. So in 1650s, one of the founders, George Fox, he told a judge to tremble at the word of the Lord, and the judge was mocking him like, "Ooh, you're gonna quake in my boots." Yeah. And they were like, "Oh, you want to insult us? We're gonna call ourselves the Quakers." So they took the insult and made it their like name.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That works.
Yeah. So the Quakers. Yeah.
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 Okay.
But
I like it.
this directly. So that arrest in the house.
Yes. So that brings us back to John Bowne and how he appealed to the arrest.
And he appealed to the arrest and was successful.
Yeah.
And that kind of resulted in. Did you look up the Flushing remonstrance? Is that how you say it?
Let me see.
That one.
Remonstrance?
Okay. Well, this was a petition in 1657 that was written by the English settlers.
This is before he got arrested.
Okay. Is it?
1657.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Sorry, guys. This is messing up the timeline. But remember how you were saying like they had the Quaker meeting because of like
they knew
it was happening. Like this was starting it. Yeah, like that. Like 3 years ago was like this was like against his little rules. That.
All right. So we're gonna flash back a little bit.
Yeah. That was it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So that was just
him. Yeah, being like you guys can't like do other religions here.
Got it. And then that's what triggered them in 1661 to have the meetings. Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. That checks out. Cool. I like it. And so his appeal helped to serve as the basis for the later guarantees of freedom of religion, speech, and right of assembly in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So, when you think about the Bill of Rights and like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, that maybe wouldn't have happened, or at least not in the same way, had it not been for John Bowne. Like he inspired that right to have. Yeah. And so like even though it happened during Dutch rule, that existed through British rule and then eventually became like the law of the land of the United States that you should be able to believe.
Was the Constitution written in 1776?
That's what they must have wrote it before they signed it.
No, but like, no, that's not what I mean. It was written in 1776. Because isn't that like the birth of America? But is that the birth of America started with the Constitution?
Yeah, it's when they signed the Constitution.
Because that was 100 years later.
Yeah, this is a long time coming.
Yeah, like that momentum kept 100 years.
Well, because thinking this is
like,
still...
took 100 years to make a change, I feel like.
But even in 100 years... this land was owned by the Dutch. Yeah. It was owned by Britain. Like, that's kind of wild.
And just to talk about how the Bowne family stayed in this property, John Bowne, who we were just talking about, his great grandson Robert Bowne, he actually knew Alexander Hamilton and like worked with him in like this in the Society of New York, like in the same circle. Yeah. So they're all directly related to changing the world and the Constitution. Dope.
So I'm actually, now I like feel like I have to look this up.
What are you looking at?
In 1776, the American colonies did not adopt a single federal constitution.
Okay.
But rather individual states adopted their own founding documents following the recommendation of the Continental Congress to replace royal charters. Oh, it's the Declaration of Independence that they signed, not the Constitution.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, guys. So in 17, you guys probably know this because I don't know because we don't know our American history. 1776.
What's the difference between the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution?
The Declaration of Independence is
like we're independent.
It's telling Britain like we're not following your rules anymore, and then that's what triggered them to create the Constitution.
They're declaring their independence.
And then it wasn't until 10 years after the Declaration of Independence that the Constitution came about.
Oh, because then we formed a government.
Exactly.
Oh, wow, we're really putting the pieces together.
Look at this. We're just laying out our ignorance. Why not? Like, the only way to learn is to just learn.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, I hope that gave y'all a little chuckle.
Mm-hmm. So other things that kind of happened in the Bowne House throughout the years.
To the idea of what you were saying about like the descendants of John Bowne. It just wasn't John Bowne who made this house historical.
Right. There's documents that they assisted in the Underground Railroad for fugitive slaves that were coming up from the South prior to the American Civil War. So several generations of the Bowne family lived in that house until 1945, when the family deeded the property to the Bowne Historical Society.
Yeah, I have something. So they lived in that house for 284 years.
284, okay.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
And I do have one other thing other than the Underground Railroad thing.
Okay, by the way, this house is very tiny. So, like, in 1945, which, like, granted, like, not that long ago, I wouldn't want to be living in that house either. It's like 2 bedrooms.
We didn't see the upstairs, though.
What do you think? The upstairs is a mansion?
I don't know.
How big do you think that is?
I would live there.
No, I don't know.
That was a big living room. And a nice little, like, middle room. And then there was a huge
they probably
kitchen.
had, like, 7 kids.
That was a huge kitchen. All right, the ceilings were a little low, but I'm short, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's actually a thing to be said about, like, the house and the way that it's still kept is that is, like, how small houses were back then. Like, how we have modern day space was not a thing back then. Like, as small as that house is was how small houses were. Yeah. And you had, like, 7 to 8 kids, like, living all in, like, one room.
Yeah, there'd be, like, 8 beds, and they just, like, lay it out there.
But you had so much land, you know? Why not just build more?
Huh. I think they liked being outside back in the day.
Yeah, I guess so.
They like being outside. But going really quick to before the Bowne family gave it over to, what was it, the Historical Society?
Bowne Historical Society.
Yeah, so before they did that, one other, I think, pretty monumental thing was that John's great-grandson, Robert Bowne, was an early founder with Alexander Hamilton and others of the Manumission Society of New York in 1784. And what that society did is they were an early American organization dedicated to promoting gradual abolishment of slavery and protecting Black Americans. And it was led by figures like John Jay and Alexander Hamilton. And they would work through legal action. They lobbied abolition laws. And then they established the American Free School in 1787, which educated enslaved children. So, like, even though kids were enslaved, they still gave them an education. What they were teaching them, I don't know. But
do you think Peter Stuyvesant would be a part of this group?
Oh, no. He'd be rolling in his peg leg grave body.
He'd be rolling on his peg leg.
He'd be like, his peg leg would be rolling. He would not have liked that. That guy was something else. He was, like, very, like, narrow-minded, that man.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, if you have a peg leg, it might, like...
Yeah. Some other kind of fun facts about Bowne House is there was archaeological digs that were done on the property by people from Queens College.
Did you get what they found?
Nah, but they uncovered 17th century artifacts, so whatever that means.
I was so annoyed because, like, I saw that they found maps and documents, but when they said artifacts, I was like, what were the artifacts? Mm-hmm. And it, like, just didn't tell me.
Nah, they want you to know.
They're like, notable artifacts.
Lock and key. Lock and key on the artifacts.
In the age of information, you can't let me know what you found in your excavation?
Nope.
Look at that.
The Bowne House became a museum in 1947. The exterior has been since renovated, and also it's a federal landmark, as in, I wrote it down and I can't find where I put it.
National Register of Historic Places.
Thank you, yes. And that means you have to have like a store, like something, it was like specific.
And then it's also in New York
City. It has
City
to have great
landmark.
Artistic value for that one.
Okay, yeah.
Because you know how like we had that whole conversation about what makes things what's like landmark status, what's federal landmark status, what's state yeah, it's like all different.
So that one's like, it has to have more of
both.
An artistic...
It's New York designated landmark and it's a historical place.
Yeah.
Double whammy.
They were like, let's do all the things. Let's give it all the honors.
Yeah. So that maybe one day it won't be knocked down. But you never know.
I don't think so. I think that's part
of
the thing.
What about all the things that happen where you're not supposed to, and then just somebody hires a bulldozer and knocks it down and be like, sorry. Like, didn't that just recently
I
happen?
feel like they would go to like federal prison.
Oh no, recently there was like that mansion in Brooklyn that wasn't supposed to be knocked down, like that old one, and then like somebody knocked it down and was like, oh sorry, and they were like, you weren't supposed to do that.
But did it have landmark status?
It had like some kind of status.
I don't think it had landmark status. I think you could go to like jail. Like federal prison if you knock down a national landmark. That would be wild.
Federal prison is like Disney World. It's just, people like love it there. They
Do
get
they?
in shape. Yeah,
you know.
Like the housewives
Tell me
go
what
there.
you know.
The housewives go there. Martha went to federal prison.
Who? Wait,
Martha Stewart.
Oh, I don't know if she
and you just
liked
get in
it.
shape and like cook and stuff. I don't think it's like real prison.
Yeah.
Mike the Situation from Jersey Shore, he went there for tax evasion.
Damn.
Yeah, a lot of people.
But I feel like
Not me, but
I don't know. Interesting. All right, well, go do it and go to federal prison. Sounds like a wonderful place to be.
So we went to the Bowne House. Diana was booked these tickets, and
it just closed.
Oh my gosh, I think it died. All right,
All right,
our camera died, but you guys are here with us.
Hang in there with us. Just imagine our wonderful faces.
Yeah. So we went to the Bowne House for this. It was run by the Daughters of Society. Daughters of the Revolution, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Daughters of the American Revolution.
And if you ever watch Gilmore Girls, Rory is a part of the DAR when she drops out of Yale. I know you're not a Gilmore fan, but Gilmore fans out there, she's in the DAR.
Okay.
And it reminded me of that. But Rory's like way classier than I feel like.
Is Lorelai?
Lorelai's the mom.
But is she part of the Daughters of the American Revolution?
No, because she like rebelled. Yeah, she's not about that life.
But the grandmother is.
The grandmother is, and then the granddaughter, who's Rory, was like got kicked out of Yale and was lost in life, so she joined the DAR to like find meaning. And
I know a little bit about the Gilmore Girls.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, did Rory like her experience?
Like running all these events and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to make a quick connection with our Francis Tavern. It was the Sons of the American Revolution, right? That started the museum up above.
Yeah.
Above Francis Tavern. So this is sort of like the female version.
And the females of the DAR made it a point to tell us that there's way many more chapters of the DAR than there is of the Sons.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, girl.
All right.
And so like when we started the main woman who was like hosting the event, just to kind of give you some context, is that we went to a genealogy sort of workshop. And so she kind of went around and asked everyone what brought us here or whatever. And then one thing I said, my great step grandmother was a daughter of the American Revolution.
And they're like, sorry, steps are not allowed in the DAR.
No stepchildren. I was like, girl, no one said I wanted to be in this club. I just want to learn a little bit more about her.
Yeah, she shut you down real quick.
But I thought that was weird. And then I told her, I was like, and I think like she was...
I think you need like blood, like direct blood.
Yeah, or she said, so if my great step grandmother had a baby with my great grandfather, and so if I had like,
so there's like a DNA
uncle,
connection.
Yeah, if my great uncle was somehow, you know what I mean? Then that would have been okay.
Yeah.
But I was like, nah. Like she didn't have any kids. Like she just helped them after whatever. Who cares? But it was just TMI right now. But basically, I can't be in the club, and I didn't want to be in it. That's fine. And
there was like a couple of women. Also, we were the only people under the age of like 50.
We were definitely, I would 45. Say 40.
There was one other girl who was younger, but everyone else was older.
Yes,
like 75 and above.
Yeah. Okay. So what I want to say first is I thought this, on that note exactly, is that I thought this was a little more catered to maybe individuals who don't really know how to use a computer. Like, she was basically just showing us how to, like, type in websites and, like, look through databases. So it definitely felt like, I don't know, like, you know how in elementary school we had to take technology class? Yes, like, it felt like that, where I was like, all right, I know how to do that. So, like, at one point, I kind of stopped even, like, listening to her, and I started just doing my own research.
And we were, like, 25 steps ahead, and she was like, oh, you guys, okay.
I was like, yeah, so I made my whole family tree, and I have she's like, what? And I'm like, okay.
And then there was like two women that were in the DAR. These were like, there were older women, and they were asking very like simple questions. And she was
very focused in on the daughters of the American Revolution.
And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, we need to take this offline. Like, she was thinking that was derailing her. So I kind of felt bad for her for that. But I kind of want to talk about...
I remember when she was doing it. So she had, I guess, a woman tuning in remotely. And at one point, this woman holds up the sign. I thought she was being held hostage. She holds up the sign on the Zoom
call.
It's
like, I can't hear you, but it's like...
But I know she said, please share your screen.
Oh, share your screen. But it looked like, help me.
It was like SOS.
I don't know why she didn't take herself off mic. I don't know why she didn't think to do that. But anyway.
I think she was told early on to not talk.
Don't talk.
Yeah. This woman was like laying down the law.
Yeah, she's laying down the law. Okay, so to be a daughter of the revolution, you have to trace your ancestors back to the Patriot times.
Or anyone who helped during that time.
All right, well, the Patriot times. I didn't say anything.
That makes sense.
Okay, but during this time, since this was under English rule, there was this document that they sent around basically saying, like, you have to pledge the allegiance to the king. And if your family, so that your house didn't get burnt down, let me point that out. So a lot of people signed it because they, like, didn't want to get murdered in their houses.
Whether they agreed with Great Britain or not, they were just like, this is the rule I'm under. Let me protect my family and sign this paper.
So if your family, if there's documentations that they signed this, you can't be it. Yeah. You cannot be a part of the Daughters of the Revolution.
Unless you somehow prove it with other documentation
that you were like a spy or that you like gave meat with one of these people.
Yeah, like one woman, it was like she looked
very
up this
strict
one,
rules. Very strict rules.
She looked up this one woman, and it was like this one woman became a daughter of the revolution because she was just like selling meat at the time, or she was like a grocer or something. I was like, all right, cool, I guess.
Yeah, like your trades.
And then she switched to like another website, the Family Search website, and was kind of looking through things. One thing she kept doing was like focusing in on the Bowne House. So like she just kept researching information about Robert Bowne, which I guess it was interesting. Her main focus was like the idea of like, this is how you do research via primary sources. Yeah. So in the days of AI, you know, you kind of just take Google searches and you hope it's right. And this was kind of a focus in on like, no, there's actual documented archives that you could really look and find the first source that says it, that like shows that that it's a fact.
And if you wanted to take the time to maybe update your family history and upload these documents and make it accurate for your future generations. Yeah. Like if you took the time, like me and Diana were like, you know what, we really want to like make our family tree known and digitally accurate. Yeah. She was showing us how to do that.
Yeah. I wish though that like
that was explained to us at the beginning. We figured that out.
Yes.
Like that was not told to us.
It wasn't told explicitly. It was almost like an assumption you could make from what she was doing. Yeah. Like she didn't explicitly say that.
That's what you should do.
No, yeah. And so like I thought the whole experience was going to be a little bit more like us finding our family tree and like us helping us find documents that maybe already exist, which I did end up finding, which I think my dad had already found because he had gone down a rabbit hole and did a lot of genealogy stuff. Yeah, like
it kind of seemed to me like something I would want to do when I'm retired. But at this time in my life, I didn't want to do the research because it is hard. Yes. You have to like go through. One of the cool things that she showed us how to do was access like public library, like the public library has access to all of these like news clipping articles and stuff like that could be used to identify different, you know, portions of your family.
And if
like,
you have a library card, it makes it a lot easy for you. Like you get
it's
access to all these documents.
So like you could search by certain words and narrow down searches like that. So I thought that was very cool. Yeah. But like I'm not gonna spend my free time doing that.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I don't know. I have my summers off. Maybe on a day I get bored. Like, you know what it reminded me of a little bit of is like the new age version of how, you know, back in the day you would like go to the library and like flip through newspapers. Yes. It was basically saying like you don't have to rely on just going to one library. Like every single library has now put all of this information here, and you can
don't
do that
have
on
to.
your own.
You don't have to flip through newspapers. You could search keywords and make things really simple for yourself because AI will pinpoint a specific like like Diana, dancer, 2014. I'll find some article like of your dancing career or whatever.
And and like she was also giving us like tricks, like okay, you do quote and you put it in the quotes, and that actually narrows it down.
Which like more. We should have known that as.
I know. Like when
she regular Google search. You know?
When she showed me that, I was like, oh, I definitely saw that before. Yeah. Like so ways of whittling it down to really getting to where you want. I thought it was interesting.
It was. I feel like I learned stuff.
Yeah. But ultimately, like we said, it was like a little. It gave you a lot of tools, as opposed to actually like holding your hand and helping you find your own family tree, which is cool. That's fine. We're all good. That's all good. Yeah. But it was cool. I thought it was an interesting conversation. They also have, or an interesting workshop rather. If you're not into all that, like they also have like sewing and like quilt making they had or counter cross.
I would have loved the
like
quilt
that.
making. Why didn't we do that?
We
you
can go.
Want to
it's
jump
next weekend.
Into the genealogy.
Listen, we were going to go to the Mets game. It's going to be rainy. We could go
right,
instead.
We go to quilt making. All right, let's do it.
Let's make some quilts. We'll become the Bowne House's regulars.
They loved having us there. They loved the youth.
They did. They did. Yeah. And then, we did. It was weird, though, because the workshop was occurring in one of the actual rooms that would have usually just been set up almost like a museum.
And it's also kind of weird because you're surrounded by, like, Bowne artifacts. Like, there was, like, his cane was behind my chair, and I was like, what the heck?
I know. I was scared I was going to knock down the sewing machine next to me. I was like, damn, they really trust this in here.
Yeah, no, I 100% know what you're talking about, because I was like, should we be in here? So, like I think I was sitting on one of the chairs,
Exactly. So, like, guys, imagine, like, you're in, like in museums, there's rooms that look like a room in the ancient times.
And they're like roped off, so you don't like.
Yeah. Imagine they pull the rope off and they set out tables and chairs and give you snacks there. I was like very shocked that that's where we did it.
Yeah. It was funny.
So we didn't get to see that main, like, I guess parlor, that like living room very much, but we saw the two other rooms. And like you said, it was kind of small. It was like low ceilings. Definitely looked old.
Little tables.
It was giving
little
Rufus King, but like definitely not a manor.
Yeah,
Rufus King Manor is a manor.
This is a good, like I was just saying before, how like why didn't you just build more land? Yeah, I mean more structure on your land. And like I do feel like Rufus King's like was a mansion compared to this little house.
Yeah, so
that's why it's called a manor, not a house. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. That's when you could call your house a manor. That's just the Bowne House. Yeah, they're not there yet. And maybe
they will never be there. They're done. I think
they can't change.
They locked it up. Yeah,
they can't expand anymore. I guess maybe Rufus King was wealthier.
Well, he was one of the founding fathers. No, was he?
Yeah, he's like the forgotten founding father.
Okay, yeah. That has some pull, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess you have to be pretty rich to start a government. You gotta have some sort of clout. Yeah, so, yeah.
I would say, like, people from Flushing probably walk by this house and, like, never realize the significance of it. So I find that actually really funny.
Because it is a little hidden.
Yeah.
The house is not facing out into the street. It's when you're walking along the sidewalk, you're seeing it from the side. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're seeing the windows and the door and everything. Mm-hmm. So it is pretty hidden. But if you live there, even if you don't, like, check it out, bro.
Yeah. And we finally did it. So we finally went. And
I'm so glad.
We actually can quit the podcast, I think.
You know what? I think this is the last one. Yeah. The Mets won one game. We went to the Bowne House.
We should go off on a high note, you know?
While we're ahead.
We'll see you next week.
Okay, see you next week, guys.
All right, bye.
Bye.